Guys, you can be doing everything right on the outside and still be completely disconnected on the inside. And I want you to think about that for a second because that means that you can be leading well, providing well, showing up consistently, checking every box, meeting every expectation, and still feel like something is missing. Not something that you can name, not something anyone else would see, but something that you feel late at night when the noise finally stops, in the quiet moments between the meetings, in the spaces where you're alone with yourself, there's a part of your life that no one else sees. No one audits it, no one monitors it, no one asks about it. And if you neglect that part, eventually everything else starts to suffer. That's what today's podcast is about. Guys, I want to welcome you back to the Shepherd's Tent with Mark Casto. This is a place for weary leaders to remember who they are. If this is your first time here, I want to say welcome. Guys, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the last episode. But if you're jumping in here, you're in the right place. And if you've been following along since the last episode, we're going to go even deeper today. Last week, I shared my story, the panic attack that nobody saw, the moment that everything cracked. Today, I want to give you the framework, the language, the framework I wish someone would have handed me before I hit the wall. This is what I call the vineyard within. Guys, in the last episode, I shared a moment in my life where everything looked right externally, but internally something was breaking. I was traveling and preaching, ministry was growing, people were being touched. By every external metric, I was winning. But at 25 years old, I ended up in a cardiologist's office after a panic attack that shook me to my core. And what I didn't understand at the time was what was actually happening beneath the surface. I thought I was just tired. Maybe I just needed a vacation, maybe a lighter schedule. But I wasn't just tired, I was disconnected from something deeper inside of me, something that I had been neglecting for years. And I didn't even know it. It took me sitting down, slowing down. And honestly, it took me 3 months in front of a fire pit in the Song of Solomon before I could even start to see it clearly. But when I did begin to see it clearly, things started to change. So let me give you some language for what I'm talking about, because I think this framework is going to unlock something for you. Every leader operates in two worlds simultaneously. The first world is your external world. Your external world is everything that people can see. It's what you build, it's what you lead, what you produce, your work, your output, your platform, your reputation, the results on the scoreboard. The second world is your internal world. And your internal world is everything that people can't see. It's your thoughts, your emotions, your spiritual condition, your sense of peace, or in some cases, the lack thereof. It's the quality of your inner life, the state of your soul. Now, here's the problem. Most leaders are trained, formally or informally, to develop the external world. We celebrate external growth. We celebrate and measure external results. We reward external performance, and we completely underinvest in the internal. Guys, and we don't even care about it until the internal starts to collapse. And then we wonder, what went wrong? Guys, this is the cycle that I was stuck in. And I want to help some of you leaders today that will be willing to go here with me. I want to help break that cycle for you as well. Now, I want to give you a picture that changed my entire way of seeing this. It comes from the Song of Psalms, specifically Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 6. The Shulamite is speaking and she says, listen to this, my angry brothers coiled with me and appointed me guardian of their ministry vineyards, yet I've not tended my vineyard within. Now I want you to let that land, okay? I've not tended my vineyard within. She had been so consumed with managing and maintaining everyone else's vineyards that she completely neglected her own. Now, I want you to understand something about vineyards. A vineyard doesn't stay static when you neglect it. It doesn't just pause and wait for you to come back. A neglected vineyard doesn't stay the same. It deteriorates. Weeds grow in, thorns take over, color fades, life recedes, and the same is absolutely true of your inner life. If you don't tend it with intention, it doesn't stay neutral. It slowly becomes overgrown. Anxiety creeps in where peace once lived. Resentment takes root where joy once grew. Emptiness fills the spaces that used to be full of life. And here is what happens to most leaders: they become experts, genuinely gifted at tending other people's vineyards, the church vineyard, the business vineyard, the team vineyard, the family vineyard, the community vineyard. But their own vineyard within, overgrown, depleted, neglected. And here's the painful irony: you can't give from what you don't have. You can't lead people to a place of peace that you yourself don't inhabit. You can't produce lasting fruit from a neglected vine. Eventually, the external results of your leadership will only be as strong as the internal condition of your soul. So let me pause here and tell you something, because this isn't just a podcast framework that I came up with. This is a message I lived, and I wrote it down in a book called The Shepherd's Tent. Literally, I called this book The Shepherd's Tent: How to Embrace Rest in God Amid a Chaotic World. And everything that I'm sharing with you in this podcast flows directly out of those pages. It's my story. It's the journey from burnout to rest, from the panic attack at 25 to 3.5 years in the wilderness of South Carolina, where God rebuilt me from the inside out. And in the book, I go deep into the Song of Solomon. I unpack the world of Babylon and the hustle culture that we're all living in. I talk about the Abba revelation, what it truly means to know God as a father. I walk through what it actually looks like to learn, or how to learn to rest, not as a one-time event, but as a lifestyle. And leaders who have read it, many of them have described it as a lighthouse from Babylon's never-ending wheel of performance. One pastor called it a it's prophetic, personal, and practical. Another pastor said, read it and I read it again, and that my journey, my story was a testimony to their spirit that rest is truly an inheritance. And if what I'm sharing with these podcasts is resonating with you, I want to encourage you to go get the book. There's a link below in the show notes. I encourage you to get it. It's available right now on Amazon. Just search The Shepherd's Tent by Mark Casto, or I'll put the direct link below in the show notes, because what we cover in this podcast is the surface of what goes deeper in those pages. And if you're ready to go deeper, friend, I encourage you, the book will take you there. And speaking of building something that lasts, let me just take a quick second here and tell you about this, because some of you listening right now, you are builders. You feel called to create something meaningful, to lead, to share, to impact people. But if you're going to build something that lasts, you can't just focus on the external, because I've seen too many people build something fast and lose themselves in the process. That's why I created Long Path Creator Academy. Inside Long Path, I help you build your message, your platform, and your income in a way that actually supports your life, not drains it. So if that resonates, I want you to go to markcasto.co/inner-circle, and let's build something that lasts. Now, let me take you back to my story for a moment, because I want to show you what this actually looked like in real life. After I resigned from ministry and canceled my itinerary, I found myself sitting in South Carolina, twiddling my thumbs with no plan, no title, no platform, no stage, no schedule, just an invitation. And every morning that fall, I'd walk out to the fire pit that I'd built in my backyard, strike a match, open the Song of Solomon. Let's be honest, sometimes strike a match, but mostly I had one of them clicker deals, and just light the fire, open the Song of Solomon, and just sit. And one morning during that season, I closed my eyes and I encountered the Good Shepherd. And again, I shared this in the last episode, but I want to share it again. And the invitation was, come take a walk with me. And I looked away and I saw my vineyard. It was overgrown. It was full of thorns. It had lost its color. And I looked back at Jesus pointing at the obvious mess and kind of saying, like, surely we need to fix this before we can go anywhere. And I just remember the kindness of the Lord's eyes in that moment. And he didn't change the invitation. Come walk with me. So I took his hand, and as we walked, I started rattling off everything we need to fix. And I just remember him saying, "It's okay. Just walk with me and let my father handle your garden because he's an excellent vine dresser." And every day after that, he came to walk with me. And I started to notice something remarkable. The flaws of my vineyard were becoming irrelevant. Things were beginning to bud and sprout. Weeds were retreating. Color was returning. And I hadn't done a single thing other than I was taking a walk with the Good Shepherd. And that's when the light bulb moment happened. That's when I understood what was really going on. The vineyard within doesn't flourish because you work harder on it. It flourishes when you learn to walk with the one who knows how to tend it. When you position yourself close enough to him that his presence becomes the environment that your soul lives in. So I want to go back to the story of the song of the songs and the story of the Shulamite for a moment, because the Shulamite story is so relevant right now. She was exhausted. She was dry. She had zero confidence that the Lord saw anything valuable in her. And she had spent years tending everyone else's vineyard at the expense of her own. Sound like any one of you listening right now. See, the early church fathers called the Song of Songs a book of wisdom. And what the Shulamite describes is nothing less than modern day leadership burnout. And we have perverted the process of the believer by exalting ministry over the importance of being rooted in identity. So we take anyone gifted, anyone with the call of God on their life, and we send them to tend the collective vineyard without first showing them how to keep their own. And the result, leaders who are giving out what they have never first received, leading from an empty place, producing fruit that they can't taste, caring for everyone else's soul while their own soul sits neglected. This is the cry that I want to address today on the podcast, because there is an answer, and it's not more effort, and it's not a better system. It's a call to return. So I love to get practical. So let's make this practical for a moment, because sometimes we need someone to name the thing that we've been feeling. So here are some signs that your inner life has been neglected. And I want you to be honest with yourself as I read these, okay? So first, you feel constantly behind. No matter how much you do, it's never enough, okay? Then, you even have the to-do list that never gets shorter, and you finish one thing and the anxiety immediately jumps to the next, okay? That's number one. Second, you can't turn your mind off, okay? Even in moments of quiet, you're not actually quiet. Your mind's still running the meeting that ended 2 hours ago. You're still rehearsing conversations that haven't happened yet. You're still carrying, you're not even carrying the weight of today, you're carrying the weight of tomorrow. And then thirdly, you feel pressure even when nothing's happening. And guys, it's not, it doesn't have to be attached to a specific event. It's just there, a low hum of anxiety that never fully resolves. Fourth, you struggle to be present. You're physically in the room, but you're emotionally somewhere else. With your kids, with your spouse, with the people in front of you, you're there, but you're really not there. Fifth, you feel disconnected from yourself. And this is the deepest one. You've been performing a version of yourself for so long that you're not even sure who you are apart from the role that you play. Take away that title, take away the platform, take away the results. Who are you? If you paused at that question, that's the vineyard within speaking. And here's the dangerous part. You can still function like this. You can still lead, you can still produce, you can still show up, but you're doing it from depletion, from an empty place, and that has a ceiling, guys. I'm just going to tell you right now. So let me be a little direct here. And I say this with care because I've lived it. If your inner life is neglected, your leadership will eventually become unsustainable. Not immediately, not all at once, but the erosion is happening because you can only lead others to the level you are living internally. You can only go as deep as you are willing to go yourself. You can't manufacture genuine peace. You can't perform your way into authentic authority. The people around you, your family, your team, your congregation, they may not be able to name it, but they feel it. They feel the difference between a leader who's leading from overflow and a leader who's leading from empty. One produces life, the other produces pressure. Guys, I've been on both sides of this. And the people closest to you will always bear the weight of which one you are. And I know that's hard to hear. I know because I had to hear it. But this isn't meant to condemn you, it's meant to wake you up because the good news is the vineyard within can be restored. And this is probably not going to be the only time that you're going to have to go through this process. I thought when I went through this in 2015, that would be it. But guess what? I still found some things in me in Covington and eventually working through a 5-year process where the church didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. And guess what? Had to go through this process again. So I know what it's like to be on both sides of this. Now, I want to zoom out for a moment, okay? Because I think we need to understand why this is so difficult. Why is it so hard to tend the vineyard within? Why do so many gifted, sincere, God fearing leaders end up neglecting the most important thing? Well, guys, the answer has a name in scripture. It's called Babylon. And I write about this extensively in my book. Babylon isn't just an ancient city, it's a system, it's a spirit, it's a way of operating in the world. And its core assignment is to re identify you, to disconnect you from your God given identity, and to rebuild and literally works to rebuild your sense of worth around what you produce. And guys, you can go to the book of Daniel, actually, Daniel chapter 1. King Nebuchadnezzar didn't just take the Hebrew boys captive, he renamed them. So when those 4 Hebrew boys came in the room, their names were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And their names literally meant God is my judge, God has favored, who is what God is, and Jehovah has helped. That's what those 4 names meant. But guess what? They were replaced with Babylonian names that was tied to their work assignments. Listen, Babylon's strategy has always been the same. Break your connection to your true name, rebuild your identity around your function, and once your identity is your function, ta-da, you can't rest. Because resting means you're not producing. And if you're not producing, you feel like you're losing value. So the treadmill never stops and the vineyard within never gets tended. Guys, that's the trap. And it works on leaders just as it does anyone else, maybe even more, because we have spiritual language as leaders to dress it up. We call our depletion faithfulness, our exhaustion commitment. We call our burnout. Well, this is just the sacrifice that we have to pay. But you know what God calls it? Babylon. And his word to his people in Babylon has always been the same. Come out of her. Now, here's what I want to introduce to you about rest. In a culture addicted to hustle, choosing to tend your inner life is a counter-cultural act. It's not passive, it's not lazy, it's not quitting, it's resistance. Resistance against the system that wants to define you by your output. Resistance against the voice that says your worth is tied to your productivity. Resistance against the Babylonian spirit that keeps you on the treadmill. See, I love this verse. Psalm 127 verse 2 says it plainly. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those that he loves. Guys, the words in vain in Hebrew literally mean uselessness, idolatry, and evil. Denying yourself rest is not noble. It's actually a form of pride. It's saying, I can't afford to stop, which is really saying, I don't trust that God can work while I'm still. But Jesus gives sleep to those that he loves. And here's the beautiful part. And while they sleep, he provides. Guys, that's not laziness, that's faith. The Hebrew word there for peace is shalom. And the letters of shalom literally mean the teeth that destroy the authority of chaos. Guys, rest is the strongest weapon that you have to combat chaos. Not urgency, not reaction, rest. Tending your vineyard within isn't a retreat from your calling, it is the source of strength for your calling. So, what do you actually do with this? Well, here's what I want to say: you don't quit everything, you don't burn it all down, you return, you begin paying attention again, you slow down enough to notice what's happening actually on the inside. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 8 says that the shepherd king tells the Shulamite, "Listen, my radiant one, if you ever lose sight of me, just follow in the footsteps where I lead my lovers. Come with your burdens and your cares. Come to the place near the sanctuary of my shepherds." Guys, he didn't rebuke her for neglecting her vineyard. He doesn't give her a 7-step program to fix it. He says, "Come, follow me, bring everything you're carrying, come to the tent." That's the invitation that's still standing. And it begins with something small, not a grand decision, not a dramatic resignation. It begins with a moment, a pause, a willingness to sit still long enough to hear yourself again, to hear him again, and then another moment, and then another, until those moments begin to string together into a new pace, a pace that's no longer driven by the noise outside, but led by the voice within. That's the rhythm of rest. And guys, here's the best thing I can say to you: it's available to you right now. So, before I give you our closing for the episode today, I want to circle back to something. Everything that I'm unpacking in this podcast, the vineyard within, the Babylonian system, the shepherd's tent, the rhythm of rest, it's all written out in full in my book, The Shepherd's Tent: How to Embrace Rest in God Amid a Chaotic World. This book is my journey. It's not a theory of something I read somewhere else. It's not a framework that I borrowed from someone else. It's the raw, honest record of what God did in my life during 3.5 years of sitting still in South Carolina, of getting delivered from the treadmill of performance, of learning what it means to be a dearly loved son of God rather than just a busy servant of the machine. So if you're tired of managing cycles of stress, if you want more than just coping strategies, if you want to actually change the way that you live, guys, this book is going to help you and give you some blueprints. It's available right now on Amazon. All you have to do is just search The Shepherd's Tent by Mark Casto, or you can click the link that I've dropped in the show notes. Guys, get it, read it slowly, let it do what it was written to do. And guys, if this message is helping you, I want to invite you into something. The Shepherd's Tent exists to create space for leaders like you, leaders who are ready to stop being driven and start being restored. And if you believe in that message, you can partner with us at markcasto.co/donate and help us bring this message to more people who need it. Guys, we have plans not only of doing this on YouTube and on the podcast, but we are going to do in-person gatherings, host retreats, and we want to have enough partners that when we do these retreats, we can literally have those pastors not pay a dime. They can come. Also, guys, something that we do every single year beyond just pastors and leaders is we host an annual camp called Camp Ascend. It costs, I think at this point, because camp's a little different, it's like $125 for a student. Listen, if you're somebody out there that's like, man, I want to help support or fund or pay for a kid to go to camp, man, make a donation of $125. When we see that $125 donation, we'll know exactly what to do with it. We will help sponsor kids to come to camp. We usually have about 300 every year, and leaders on top of that. But there are some kids that do not have the money to come to camp. We would love to be able to have partners like yourself that come alongside us, not only to support the ministry, but to fund kids going to camp. So if you've got a donation that you can make, $125, you can pay for a kid's camp this year. I'd love to be able to let all the kids come for free. If I had 300 people listen to this, gave $125, we pay for everybody's camp. It'd be a beautiful thing. So, guys, we appreciate all of you that are partnering with us, standing with us, and just really thankful for the ministry God has blessed us with. Now, let me leave you with this. There is a vineyard inside of you. a garden that God tended before you were born, a place in you that was designed to be full of life, full of peace, full of color, full of the fragrance of Jesus. And no matter how long it's been neglected, no matter how overgrown it's become, the shepherd king is still walking towards you with his hand extended, saying, "Come take a walk with me." Still not concerned with the condition of your garden, still not more interested in your he's still more interested in your proximity more than your productivity. And if today you can hear that invitation, I want you to take it, not tomorrow, today, before the next meeting, before the next episode. Take 5 minutes, go somewhere quiet, or just shut this off right now and sit in your car. Just ask yourself honestly, what is the condition of my vineyard within? What has been neglected inside of me? What is Abba wanting to tend in me right now? And if this hit you, don't just move on. I'm asking you, reach out, message me on Facebook, email me at mark@markcasto.co. You can find me on Instagram at markcasto_. I want to hear your story. And I want to encourage you, grab the book while you're at it, The Shepherd's Tent on Amazon. Let's go deeper together because you're not the only one that feels this, and you don't have to carry it alone. Guys, this is The Shepherd's Tent with Mark Casto, a place for weary leaders to remember who they are. We'll catch you on the next episode.